late 2025. It feels like any other day. People walk the city streets, lost in their own worlds, under a familiar blue sky. But if you look closely, there's a flicker of anxiety in their eyes. On the digital news tickers scrolling across skyscrapers, you see small, almost insignificant headlines. Minor seismic activity detected at Yellowstone, Campiflagre, and Toba. Most people ignore it. Background noise in a busy world. But these are not just random tremors. They are the faintest whispers of a sleeping giant stirring from a slumber that has lasted for millennia. Inside volcanic monitoring stations around the globe, scientists watch these whispers become rumbles. On their screens, seismographs dance with nervous energy. An overlay pops up, showing the Volcanic Explosivity Index, the VEI scale. It's a chilling comparison. You see Mount St. Helens, a VEI 5, then Pinatubo, a VEI 6. And then you see the monsters, Campiflagre, Yellowstone, Toba, all potential VEI 8s, supervolcanoes. The technology we have is incredible, a global network of sensors listening to the Earth's heartbeat. There's a calm professionalism in the air, a serene confidence in the data. But the data is telling a story of immense, terrifying power, quietly building just beneath our feet. Then, it begins. Over the ancient city of Naples, Italy, the sky starts to darken. Not with storm clouds, but with something far more sinister. From the caldera of Campiflagre, a massive column of ash and gas silently punches its way into the atmosphere. From a distance, you can see the historic ruins of Pompeii in the foreground. A silent, stony witness to a history about to repeat itself on a scale never before seen. There's an eerie, unnatural calm. This isn't the eruption itself, not yet. This is the first breath, a release of pressure. Billions of tons of sulfur dioxide are injected directly into the stratosphere, an invisible poison rising to the heavens. Let's look at what that sulfur dioxide does. As it reaches the stratosphere, high above the weather, a chemical reaction begins. The gas transforms into tiny sulfate aerosols. Think of it as a global veil of microscopic mirrors. These aerosols are incredibly effective at reflecting sunlight back into space. Instead of warming the Earth, the sun's energy is bounced away. On screen, you can see the cross-section of our atmosphere, the invisible chemistry playing out. It's an educational animation, almost hypnotic to watch, but it's illustrating the mechanism of a planetary deep freeze, the start of a volcanic winter. The first breath from Campiflagre sends a shockwave through the Earth's crust, a tectonic ripple that travels thousands of miles. It's the domino effect on a geological scale. This seismic wave reaches the already unstable magma chamber beneath Yellowstone National Park in the United States, and the domino falls. With a cataclysmic roar that dwarfs any sound in human history, Yellowstone explodes. A colossal plume of ash, rock, and gas rockets miles into the sky. The sheer force is unimaginable. The beautiful landscape of geysers, forests, and wildlife is instantly vaporized, replaced by a churning, expanding cloud of fiery destruction. This is the power that shapes continents, and it has just been unleashed. This concept of volcanic triggering is a terrifying reality. One eruption can literally push another over the edge. Imagine a shockwave propagating through the planet's fragile crust, like a crack spreading across thin ice. The immense pressure release from Campiflagre was the final nudge Yellowstone needed. Our scientific diagrams show this deep Earth connection, a dramatic and horrifying cascade of events. The Earth is a single, interconnected system, and its greatest forces have just turned on each other, with humanity caught in the middle. The second supervolcano has now joined the chorus, and the chain reaction isn't over. The combined seismic stress now reaches across the Pacific to Indonesia, to the site of the largest known eruption in human history, Lake Toba, and it too erupts. Another VI-8 explosion, completing the trifecta of global catastrophe. The sky, already hazy, now begins to fill with an even greater volume of ash. The sun becomes a faint, powerless disk. A surreal gray-orange twilight descends upon the entire planet. To put this in perspective, the 1815 eruption of Tambora, which caused the year without a summer, was a fraction of this. We are now living through something exponentially larger. Actually larger. The world is bathed in this strange new light. The sunsets are breathtakingly beautiful, but they are sunsets of doom. The immense amount of ash in the atmosphere scatters sunlight in a unique way, a phenomenon related to Rayleigh scattering. The sky glows with intense oranges, purples, and reds. It's a painter's dream and a survivor's nightmare. This eerie, beautiful glow is the first visual sign that our world has fundamentally changed. Every sunset is a reminder of the suffocating blanket of ash now wrapping the globe, a beautiful, deadly shroud. The first and most immediate casualty of this new sky is our civilization's circulatory system, air travel. All at once, the world grounds to a halt. At every international airport, runways are filled with silent, parked airplanes. Rows upon rows of them, useless. The sky, once crisscrossed with the white lines of contrails, is now eerily empty and quiet. This great grounding isn't a choice, it's a necessity. Volcanic ash is not like smoke or dust. It's tiny abrasive particles of rock and glass. When sucked into a jet engine, the intense heat melts the ash, which then fuses onto the turbine blades as molten glass. It chokes the engine, causing it to fail catastrophically. Every plane in the sky is a death trap. Global aviation is over, indefinitely. Then the ash begins to fall, not just near the volcanoes, but everywhere. A vine grey powder, like a light, persistent snow, dusts cities from New York to Tokyo. It covers cars, coats windowsills, and blankets entire landscapes. People venture outside wearing masks, not just for the smell of sulfur, but because this ash is corrosive and abrasive. It's sharp enough to damage lungs if inhaled, and heavy enough to collapse roofs. It smothers crops in the fields, poisoning the soil and guaranteeing a future of famine. The world is being buried, slowly and silently. In this sudden, forced isolation, a new kind of connection emerges. With travel impossible and the outside world hazardous, humanity turns inward and online. The digital lifeline becomes our everything. Families separated by continents connect through glowing screens. Video calls become the new town square, a place to share information, offer comfort, and see a friendly face. Thankfully, our decentralized internet infrastructure, built with redundancies, proves resilient. In the face of a planetary disaster that has physically torn us apart, technology creates a new kind of global unity, a shared experience in a worldwide crisis. But no screen can stop the cold. The hazy sun, a pale disk in the sky, offers little warmth. The stratospheric aerosol layer is doing its job too well. Temperatures begin to drop, fast. People who were wearing summer clothes just days ago now feel a sudden, unseasonable chill. The kind of cold that gets into your bones. It is the first taste of the volcanic winter. The global thermostat has been turned down, and the change is happening faster than anyone could have predicted. As the first day of this new era ends, the true darkness begins. Night falls, but it's a blackness deeper than any has ever known. The thick, global layer of ash completely blocks out the light from the moon and stars. The only illumination comes from the artificial glow of city lights, casting long, lonely shadows. It's a primal, absolute darkness that brings with it a primal fear. The world is unnaturally quiet. In this forced silence and total blackness, humanity is left alone with its thoughts, contemplating the long night that has just begun. And even in the first hours, there is hope. Not everyone was caught unprepared. The so-called doomsday preppers, often dismissed as paranoid, are now the first true survivors. In their underground bunkers and fortified rural communities, they are ready. They have stockpiles of food, advanced water filtration systems, N95 masks, and HEPA filters for the air. They are sharing their knowledge, their resources, and their skills. In the face of nature's overwhelming destructive power, human ingenuity, foresight, and the will to survive begin to shine their own light in the darkness. The fight for the future has already started. In the next chapter, we will explore humanity's rebirth after the volcanic winter. New social order. Survivors form small communities with new rules and values. Agricultural transformation, hydroponic systems, and artificial light farming become the foundation of food production. Energy solutions. Geothermal and alternative sources keep civilization alive. Nature's response: new ecosystems emerge, with resilient species adapting to the changed world. The return of hope. Humanity rises from silence, finding its voice again. This journey is not just about survival, it is about learning how to truly live again. If this story fascinated you, consider subscribing for more explorations of science and survival. Stay curious and stay safe. What if the world's largest supervolcano erupted tomorrow? What would happen to us? What would happen to us? This isn't just a movie plot. It's a scenario scientists have studied, and the consequences would be catastrophic, unfolding in distinct, terrifying phases. 1 week after the eruption, the sky is no longer blue. It's a permanent, suffocating twilight, choked with trillions of tons of ash and sulfur dioxide. This is when the first acid rain begins to fall. Imagine rain so corrosive, it sizzles on contact with concrete, eating away at metal like a ravenous beast. Our infrastructure, the very skeleton of our society, starts to dissolve. Buildings, bridges, and vehicles begin to rust and decay at an alarming rate. This poisoned rain flows into our rivers and lakes, turning them into toxic graveyards. The change in pH is swift and brutal. Fish float to the surface, their gills burned, and entire aquatic ecosystems collapse within days. Our sources of fresh water, essential for life, become deadly. On land, the devastation is just as complete. Fields of crops, once green and vibrant, are scorched yellow and black, wilting under the chemical assault. The skeletal remains of what would have been our food supply litter the landscape, a grim testament to the agricultural apocalypse. For a brief moment after the rain stops, the air at ground level might feel a little clearer as the ash settles, but this is a hollow comfort in a world actively dying. 1 month later, the true collapse of civilization begins. The cities, now death traps of poisoned air and failing structures, are abandoned. The cities, now death traps of poisoned air and failing structures, are abandoned. The once bustling streets of New York, Tokyo, and London are silent, filled with dust and debris. This is the start of the Great Migration. Millions, perhaps billions of people flee the urban centers on foot. Highways are no longer for cars, they are rivers of desperate humanity. Families carrying what little they can, searching for safety, for food, for a future. Our just-in-time global supply chain, a marvel of modern efficiency, shatters instantly. Supermarkets are looted and left empty. Warehouses, once filled with goods from around the world, are now vast, silent tombs. The trucks are idle, the ships are docked, the system is broken. This scarcity quickly breeds conflict. Imagine exhausted city dwellers reaching the countryside, only to be met by armed and fearful rural communities determined to protect their limited resources. Imagine exhausted city dwellers reaching the countryside, only to be met by armed and fearful rural communities determined to protect their limited resources. Trust evaporates, replaced by primal fear and suspicion. In this new world, your wealth means nothing, your social status is irrelevant. A new value system emerges around campfires in the darkness. The most respected individuals are not bankers or celebrities, but the farmer who knows how to grow food in contaminated soil, the medic who can treat injuries without a hospital, and the engineer who can fix a generator or purify water. Survival skills become the new currency. 1 year later, the planet has changed irrevocably. The volcanic ash blanketing the stratosphere has created a nuclear winter effect, blocking sunlight and causing global temperatures to plummet. This is the volcanic winter. Imagine snow falling in June, blanketing once green fields and freezing the hope of a summer harvest. Ice sheets, once confined to the poles, begin their slow, relentless march, creeping over abandoned towns and freezing rivers solid. The world is painted in pale, cold blues and greys. But humanity is resilient. Survival is not impossible. It just requires radical adaptation. Survivors would learn to live indoors, creating underground hydroponic farms lit by UV grow lights, a fusion of primitive necessity and futuristic technology. In places like Iceland or Yellowstone, communities would form around geothermal vents, harnessing the Earth's natural heat to power greenhouses and provide warmth. These pockets of life would be oases in the frozen wasteland. Out of this immense suffering, a new humanity could be born. Small, technologically adept settlements might arise, combining salvaged modern knowledge with sustainable primitive techniques. They would understand the fragility of their world in a way we never did. The first sunrise to truly break through the thinning ash clouds years later wouldn't just be a return of light. It would be a symbol of rebirth. A promise that even after the darkest of nights, a new day can dawn. This scenario is a stark reminder of the power of nature and the fragility of our complex world. It forces us to ask what truly matters and what we would do to survive. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into a possible future thought-provoking, please like this video and subscribe for more content that explores the biggest what-ifs of our world. A year has passed. A year since the day the earth shook and fire spewed forth. A year under a sky that hid the sun. The world has become quieter. Imagine the forests, once filled with birdsong, are now silent. The fields where life once flourished lie bare and deserted. The sky is a dull, grey veil of ash and sulfur that allows only a faint glow of sunlight to pass through. The massive destruction of species has left behind a landscape that appears barren and eerie. It is a world in post-apocalyptic twilight, where only the wind whistles through empty treetops. But even in this seemingly lifeless world, something is stirring. A new chapter begins beneath the rubble and ashes. It is the specialists in cold and darkness who now sense their opportunity. Resilient plants that thrive on minimal light and small animals that survived the volcanic winter venture out of their hiding places. Mosses and lichens cover the rocks with a delicate green carpet, subtle signs of the tenacity of life under the harshest conditions imaginable. But the true rulers of this new age are not green, they are fungi. In a quiet, unstoppable revolution, they have taken over the ecosystem. Huge, intricate networks of mycelium spread underground and across dead wood. They permeate the remains of the old world, decomposing dead trees and organic material and recycling nutrients in the dark forest soil. What we see on the surface is an eerie, almost alien-like explosion of mushroom shapes and colors. They are the cleaners, and at the same time the pioneers for everything that will come after them. What we are observing here is a textbook example of adaptive radiation following a mass extinction. Scientists have often reconstructed such events in Earth's history. Imagine a timeline. A catastrophic event wipes out most of life. After that, however, evolution literally explodes. The few survivors quickly adapt to the new, empty niches and evolve into countless new species in a short period of time. In our scenario, it is fungi that are leading this recovery and laying the foundation for a new biosphere. The resilience of life is simply incredible. If you look closely, you can see it everywhere. Fungi that turn fallen tree trunks into fertile soil. Delicate new shoots, powerfully pushing their way through the thick layer of ash toward the faint light. The planet is beginning to heal in ways we could never have imagined. It's not a return to the old ways, but the beginning of something completely new. And then, after more than a year of darkness, the miracle happens. High up in the stratosphere, the ash slowly begins to settle. The haze lifts, at first barely noticeably, then more and more clearly. Weak but brighter rays of sunshine penetrate the gray veil for the first time in months. It is a single glimmer of hope in the previously bleak sky, a promise of warmth and light. For the survivors, this moment is of indescribable significance. Imagine a small group leaving their sheltered accommodations and looking up at the sky. The first clear sunlight since an endless volcanic winter falls on their faces. It is a moment of awe, relief, and deep, quiet joy. The cold in her bones gives way to a new warmth, not only from the sun, but also from renewed hope. Diese Hoffnung wird bald zur Realität. Das zurückkehrende Licht ermöglicht die erste erfolgreiche Ernte im Freien. Survivors carefully harvest small, resilient crops that have grown under the clearing sky. The faint sunlight on the green leaves is more than just nourishment for the body. It is nourishment for the soul. It is the promise that civilization can be rebuilt, plant by plant, harvest by harvest. But the world they return to is no longer the same. A view from space would reveal an irrevocably changed world map. Drastic climate change has reshaped coastlines. Entire regions that we knew have been flooded. The geography of our planet has been changed forever, a permanent scar bearing witness to the catastrophe. In the distant future, scientists will find evidence of this time deep in the ice of Antarctica. In an ice core that records the history of the planet layer by layer, a distinct, dark layer of ash will be visible. The unmistakable fingerprint of the great triple supervolcano eruption, a timestamp documenting the event that brought humanity to the brink of extinction. Future researchers will analyze this layer under the microscope and read the history of a world that almost perished but survived. Back in our time, the Earth is calmer. The drastic reduction in human activity has given nature space to reclaim what once belonged to it. Abandoned cities are slowly being overgrown by vegetation, vines climb up skyscrapers, and moss covers the quiet streets. A peaceful, almost meditative silence has descended upon the world. It reminds us of the cyclical nature of our planet. Destruction and rebirth, cooling and warming, the eternal ebb and flow of life over geological time. Let us enjoy this moment of tranquility. A gentle sunset colors a sky that is familiar, yet different. A faint, almost picturesque volcanic haze still lingers, bathing the world in a soft, unreal light. The planet breathes a sigh of relief and waits for its rebirth in a calm, almost hypnotic atmosphere. Finally, imagine the image of our planet from space. A quiet, peaceful sphere, enveloped in a thin blue atmosphere that is slowly healing. The first stars reappear on the dark horizon. It is an image that conveys a deep sense of security and new beginnings. It tells the story of the ultimate resilience of life and, despite everything, of humanity. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed this perspective, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any further explorations of our fascinating world. Until next time.